So one attempt of fewest moves takes 1 hour, and we had 3 rounds. Each time you do a round, you do 3 solves. And since I made it to all the rounds, I did 9 hours of solving. Fewest moves is about finding different and creative solutions and trying a lot of different solutions, remembering what you've done, and it's just more of the creative side of cubing, and it was so draining. But I'm really happy because I got a 24 move solve, which is tied for first in Canada, which makes me also national record holder. I've gotten 24 twice before at home, and so this is my 3rd time getting 24, and I have gotten 25 I think 3 times as well. 1 officially, and then 1 at home, and then 1 more officially yesterday as well. Okay, so here is the solution. So here was Scramble 1 for the event, and I used some more advanced techniques than I did in the 25, but you should still understand it if you don't know fewest moves. So to start, I usually look for 2 things, and that is either pairs or edge orientation. So in this case, there are no pairs of pieces done, but for example, if I do F prime, then I get this pair here, and if I do R2, then I get this pair here. So I find those by looking for 1 move pairs, and that's just by trying every possible 1 move. So like U prime, U2, U, and just see what pairs get made. And then I won't talk much about edge orientation, but I often try to start with these for a solve. I didn't end up going with it for this solve, so I'm not going to mention it here. So when I do make pairs, I try to extend it to a square, so by adding the yellow-red edge and a blue-red edge, but for here, I couldn't find a nice way to do it, and same for this pair over here. So I went onto the inverse scramble, and you can just trust me that this works if you don't know how it works, but if you want to learn about it, it's right there. Okay, so here's what I got, and I did the 1 move thing again, and I did end up finding that R gives a pair here and a pair back here. And having 2 pairs in 1 move is pretty good. It doesn't mean I'll have to end up using both of them, but it does mean I have twice as many options, and best case scenario is I do preserve them both. Now again, I couldn't find a good continuation here with either of these pairs, so after the R move, I went back onto the regular scramble. So this is where scramble switching really has an advantage because I get to save both of these pairs. So I'm switching back to the regular scramble, reverse what I did on the inverse, and then do the scramble again. So now I still have 2 pairs, but they are in a different spot, and this was a lot better because I noticed that with L prime B, I can make this, and then this pair can also easily go with this edge if I just add B, L, B prime. So now I have this square, and that didn't take so many moves. Now I also noticed that this edge was solved, and so this is going to be a pseudo block. I'm going to attach all of these together, and this makes a 2 by 2 by 3 not solved section, so not a block, but it is a pseudo block because for a pseudo block, each layer of it must be solved, but the layers don't have to match each other. That's how you can take advantage of 2 squares that don't really share many of the same colors. They only share red, so they don't really go together, but by making a pseudo block with a solved edge, then you can take advantage of this. So to solve a pseudo block, we switch back to the inverse scramble. Remember to click up there if you actually want to know how scramble switching works, because if you don't know how it works, it's kind of like magic, and I'm not going to explain it here. So anyway, continuing, on the inverse, I had an R move, and now I just need to add 2 more moves because my pseudo block was off by 2 layers. So I'm going to fix that and fix this, and now I have a full block. So that was 8 moves for a 2 by 2 by 3 block, which is pretty good. And then now I can choose to extend another block here, any square of these, or I can choose this side. So I ended up going with this side because I found that this edge, and this corner, I can attach the corner to the edge like this. And then now, can you see a quick way to turn this into a square on the green side? So how that can be done is by doing this and moving now both of these down, and that makes the square. So then I just attach the square here. And the really nice thing about that is both of the moves that I used to start making this canceled with the moves that I used to finish the pseudo block. So I kind of lost 2 moves there. So next at this step, it's really good to have oriented edges, and I don't have that, so I'm going to do that now. Often in the beginning of the solve or midway through solve, I will have the edges oriented, but in this case, if I don't, and this edge is solved, I will do a short OLL on top. But if this edge is not solved, then I do it in the way I talk about in my skeletons video. But I just want you to take a look at what's at the top here, and think about what you would do in this case. If you know OLL and you see this and this, you should immediately be thinking, I'm gonna do that. And luckily for me, that left me with 3 corners, which just super shocked me because I didn't think I had used that many moves yet, and I was already down to a 3-corner skeleton, which is one of the best skeletons that you can get because it only usually takes around 6 moves to solve this. So from here, I did an insertion by doing commutators. So a commutator is a low move count way to cycle around 3 pieces. It usually takes 8 moves like this. If you do it as an insertion, then it can cancel moves as well, so it takes less than that. So I'll show the insertion, but there's also something really cool that I could have done that I didn't know about, so I actually couldn't have done it, but here, let me show you. So to finish off the skeleton, all my normal moves plus reversed of the inverse moves, and then that will leave me with 3 corners unsolved at the end. So I did the scramble plus skeleton, got insertion stickers on here, and then now I'm going to go back to the beginning of the skeleton. So here I am at the start of the skeleton. If you go 2 moves in, L prime B2, then at this point you can cancel 1 move with a commutator, and as it turns out, that's the best you can do. Which is unfortunate because I hope to be able to cancel usually around 2 moves, but you know, you don't always get that lucky. I already got lucky enough to solve. 3 and 2 here have an interchange of D2. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, remember to watch the tutorial for it. And then we can insert 1 to 2 here using B prime, U prime, B. So I just move 1 to 2 and then interchange the pieces and then reverse and reverse. Now if I go through the rest of the skeleton, the cube should be solved. So there's something I could have actually done that would have gotten a 22. Okay, well, it's not something I could have done because I didn't know I could do this, but here's an A-perm algorithm that is 10 moves, which is not optimal, but in this case, it cancels 5 of them. So here, after the first move of the skeleton L prime, then we have an A perm over here, and here the next move being B2. At this point in the skeleton, because it was B2 and it's these 2 corners of the A perm, now here the A perm doesn't start with B2, because if 2 is going diagonally to 3 here, it would start with like this, like that, but we want it to end with B2, and if you do the A perm this way, then that actually will cancel 2 moves, B2 and B2, and it doesn't cancel any more moves than that, so that would still leave me with a 7 move insertion, which would have been a different solution, but still 24 if I did this. But from here, there's another way to do the A-perm that also ends in B2, but cancels 5 moves in total. But how it works is D2, and then R prime B2, R B2, and then D2, and if you're thinking this is going to be a commutator, it's not, or at least it doesn't look that way right now. The next thing is L B2, L prime B2. So it does end with B2, but it also has L prime, which cancels with L, and it also has another B2, which cancels with the next B move. And so if I had done it this way, 10 minus 5 is in 5 move insertion versus what I did, which is 7. Although this is not an intuitive A-perm as far as I can tell, so I wouldn't have figured that out. No regrets, the best I could have done is 24. For those of you new to fewest moves and insertions, the way I found that A-perm was through Insertion Finder, which I'll link in the description. Anytime you get a solve with insertions that you're not sure if it could have been better or not, then it's a really useful tool. So I also got a 25 that competition, but I am just way too tired and I'm not going to reconstruct that. It was a pretty straightforward solve, obviously lucky as well, but not too out of the ordinary. Bye guys, see you next time.